Questions. Good morning, everyone. Let me start with a simple question. How many of you made a New Year's resolution for 2025? Now be honest, how many of you are still following it? Don't worry. Questions. I am not here to judge. Even my alarm clock doesn't follow my plans. I set it for 5 a.m. and it rings at 5, but my mind says, just 5 more minutes. Questions. We are in a long-term relationship. But today I don't want to talk about big goals. I don't want to talk about becoming rich, famous, or perfect. I want to talk about something very small. Questions, just 1% better. Every day, because in 2026 you don't need a revolution, you need a tiny evolution. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who wanted to climb a mountain. On the first day, questions, he looked at the peak and said, "This is impossible." On the second day, he didn't look at the peak. He looked at the next step. And step by step, one stone at a time, one breath at a time. Questions. He reached the top. Most of us fail not because the mountain is too big. We fail because we keep staring at the top and forget to take the next step. Now let me ask you something personal. Questions. Who do you want to become by the end of 2026? Not what do you want to have, but who do you want to be? Because success is not something you chase. Questions. Success is something you attract by becoming the right person. Here's a truth we all need to hear. Your life tomorrow is created by your habits today. The food you eat, the thoughts you think. Questions. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the way you talk to yourself when nobody is watching. All of these are like votes. Every day you vote for the person you are becoming. Questions. Let me share something simple. If you improve just 1% every day, in 1 year you won't be 365% better. You'll be 37 times better. That is the power of small, consistent growth. But the problem is questions. We don't fall in love with small progress. We fall in love with instant results. We want 6-pack abs in 6 days. We want success without struggle. We want wisdom without experience. Questions. But nature doesn't work like that. A tree grows silently for years before it gives fruit. Let me ask you a fun question. If I gave you a choice, questions, would you rather be motivated for 1 week or disciplined for 1 year? Because motivation is like a guest. It comes, eats your snacks, and leaves. But discipline is like family. It stays. Questions. Even when things are uncomfortable. And here's the secret, discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you tell your mind, questions, I can trust myself. Or now let's talk about failure. We are so scared of failing. But failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Questions. A child doesn't learn to walk by reading a book called How to Walk in 7 Easy Steps. The child falls again and again and again. But one day the child stands up and everyone claps. In life, questions. When you fall, people don't clap, but heaven does, because every fall is feedback. Every mistake is a message. Every setback is a setup for a stronger comeback. Let me tell you something powerful. Questions. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. If you want to grow, change what surrounds you. If you want to read more, keep books near you. If you want to think better, listen to better voices. Questions. If you want to dream bigger, walk with people who believe in growth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Questions. Now let's talk about something we forget in self-improvement, gratitude. We always say, I'll be happy when I succeed. But happiness doesn't come after success. Questions. Success comes after happiness. When you are grateful for where you are, you create energy to move forward. Take a moment every day and say, thank you for my body. Thank you for my breath. Questions. Thank you for this chance to try again. Because every morning you wake up is life saying, I'm not done with you yet. Here's a deep thought. You are not becoming someone in the future. Questions. You are becoming someone right now. Every scroll, every conversation, every choice is shaping you. So ask yourself this question tonight before you sleep. Did I become 1% better today? Questions or 1 cent more comfortable? A comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Let me end with this. Imagine it's December 31st, 2026. You are standing in front of a mirror. Questions. You look into your own eyes. What do you want to say to yourself? Questions. I'm proud of you for not giving up, Pa. I'm proud of you for trying even when it was hard. I'm proud of you for choosing growth over excuses. Because the world doesn't need a perfect version of you. Questions. The world needs a braver, kinder, stronger, and more honest version of you. So starting today, don't aim to change your life. Just aim to change your day. One good habit, one kind word. Questions. One honest effort. And slowly, silently, beautifully, you will become someone your future self will thank you for. Remember this line and carry it with you into 2026. Small steps. Questions. Every day, big life. One thank you. And don't forget, your best version is not waiting for next year. It's waiting for your next choice. Questions. Let me begin with something very ordinary. Something we all recognize from daily life. Imagine you have a dirty room. Clothes on the bed, books on the floor, cups on the table, and dust everywhere. Questions. You stand at the door and look inside, and your mind immediately says, "This is too much. I'll clean it tomorrow." But one day, instead of thinking about cleaning the whole room, questions, you just pick up one shirt from the floor and hang it. That's it. Just one shirt. Something magical happens in that moment. The room is still messy. Questions. But you are no longer the same person who walked in. You are now someone who took a step. And often that one small step gives you the energy to pick up the next shirt, then the next book. Questions. Then the next cup. By the time you realize it, the room looks different. But more importantly, you look different. This is how massive transformation begins. Not with a big promise, questions, but with a tiny action. Think about how we learn to ride a bicycle. Nobody starts by racing down the street. First you sit on the seat, then you put your feet on the pedals. Questions. Then someone holds the back of the cycle while you wobble and panic and laugh at the same time. You fall, you get up, you fall again, you get a small scratch, and your mother or father says, questions, be careful. And one day, without even realizing it, you are riding on your own. You didn't become a cyclist in one day. You became one small balance at a time, one small push at a time. Questions, one small fall at a time. Yet today, you can travel long distances on that same bicycle. That is the power of small steps. They don't just move you forward. They change who you are. Look at a seed. Questions. It is so small that you can hold it between your fingers. If someone showed you a seed and a huge tree side by side, you would laugh and say, questions. There is no connection between these two. But every tree you see, every fruit you eat, every shade you rest under once started as something so tiny that it could have been lost in the dust. Questions. The seed doesn't wake up one day and say, today I will become a tree. It just does its small job. It stays in the soil. It absorbs water. It reaches for the light. Slowly, silently, questions. Without noise or announcement, it grows. That is how real change happens in our lives too. Quiet, invisible, consistent in our daily routine. We often wait for the perfect day to start. We say, questions. From Monday, I will wake up early. From next month, I will start exercising. From next year, I will become a better person. But life doesn't change on Mondays, months, or years. Questions. Life changes in moments. It changes when you choose water instead of a soft drink. It changes when you read 2 pages instead of scrolling for 2 more minutes. Questions. It changes when you say one kind word instead of staying silent. These choices look small, almost useless, but they are like drops of water filling a bucket. One drop does nothing. Questions. But keep adding them, and one day the bucket overflows. Let me give you another simple example. Imagine you want to save money. You look at your dream house, your dream car, your dream vacation questions, and you think, what is the point of saving 10 or 20 today? It feels too small compared to the big dream. But if you put aside a small amount every day, something beautiful happens. Questions. Not only does your bank balance grow, but your mindset changes. You start seeing yourself as a person who plans, who prepares, who believes in their future. Questions. That small habit doesn't just create money, it creates confidence. The same thing happens with your health. Nobody becomes unhealthy in one day. It happens one skipped walk, one extra snack, questions, one late night at a time, and nobody becomes healthy in one day either. It happens one stretch in the morning, one glass of water, one early night at a time. Questions. When you stop looking for big results and start respecting small actions, your body responds, your mind responds, and your life responds. Even relationships grow this way. Questions. A strong friendship is not built by one grand gift or one long conversation. It is built by small messages, small check-ins, small moments of listening, small acts of care. Questions. A simple "how are you" can sometimes mean more than a long speech. Over time, these small gestures create trust, warmth, and connection that feel unbreakable. What we often forget is this. Questions. Your future is not created by what you do once in a while. It is created by what you do every day. Your daily actions are like votes. Every small step is a vote for the person you want to become. Questions. You don't wake up one morning as a confident person. You become confident by speaking up one time when your voice is shaking, by trying one time when you are afraid. Questions. By believing one time when doubt is loud. So when you feel stuck, don't ask, how do I change my whole life? Ask, what is one small thing I can do today? Maybe it's making your bed. Questions. Maybe it's writing one line in a notebook. Maybe it's smiling at someone who looks tired. These small steps may not impress the world, but they will build you. And one day, when you look back, questions, you won't remember the exact moment everything changed. You will just realize that somewhere along the way, by doing small things with great love and consistency, you became someone stronger, calmer, questions, and braver than you ever thought you could be. Because in the end, massive transformation is not a loud event. It is a quiet journey made of thousands of tiny, faithful steps, questions, taken by a person who simply decided, today I will move forward, even if it's just a little. Questions. Let me start with something we all experience. There are days when you wake up feeling like a hero in a movie. You feel energetic, inspired, and ready to conquer the world. You promise yourself, questions, from today my life will change. You plan to wake up early, eat healthy, exercise, study, work harder, and become a better version of yourself. And on that day, you actually do it. Questions. You feel proud, powerful, and unstoppable. But then comes the next day. The alarm rings and suddenly that hero disappears. The bed feels warmer. The phone feels more interesting. Questions. And the dream of improvement feels very far away. This is where most journeys end. Not because we don't have motivation, but because we depend on it too much. Motivation is like the weather. Questions. Some days it's sunny, some days it's cloudy, and some days it's stormy. You cannot plan your life based on the weather. If farmers waited for perfect weather to work, questions, there would be no food on our plates. They go to the field even when the sun is too strong, even when the wind is cold, even when the sky looks uncertain. They don't ask questions, do I feel like working today? They ask, what needs to be done today? That is the quiet power of consistency. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning and say, questions, I don't feel motivated to brush today, so I'll skip it. You do it because it's part of who you are. It's a habit, not a decision you have to negotiate with your mind every day. Questions. And because of that small, consistent action, your teeth stay healthy over the years. Imagine if you only brushed your teeth on days you felt inspired. The result would be very different. Questions. This is exactly how our goals work. Small actions done regularly protect and build our future. Let's look at someone who wants to get fit. On the first day, they might run for 30 minutes. Questions. Do push-ups and feel amazing. They post a photo, they tell their friends, and they feel proud. But then they disappear for a week. And when they come back, they start again from zero. Questions. Now compare that to someone who just walks for 10 minutes every day. No big announcements, no dramatic effort. Just 10 minutes. After a month, their body feels lighter. After a few months, questions, their stamina improves. After a year, they are a different person. The difference is not effort. The difference is consistency. Questions. Even the strongest river in the world did not become powerful because of one big wave. It became powerful because of millions of small drops flowing in the same direction. Day after day, questions, year after year. Over time, it can cut through mountains. That is what consistency does to your life. It slowly shapes your character, your skills, and your confidence. In daily life, questions, we often underestimate small routines. Think about a student who studies for 1 hour only before exams. There is stress, fear, and sleepless nights. Questions. Now think about a student who studies 20 minutes every day. No pressure, no panic. When the exam comes, they walk in calmly because they know they have already done the work. The same books, questions. The same subjects, the same brain. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is showing up every day, even when they didn't feel like it. There is a beautiful truth about consistency. Questions. It doesn't care about your mood. You can be tired, bored, happy, sad, or confused. It still moves you forward. Motivation says, I will work when I feel good. Consistency says, questions. I will work so I can become good. Think about building a wall with bricks. If you place one brick today and then forget about it for a week, that wall will never stand. Questions. But if you place one brick every day slowly, patiently, that wall will rise. And one day you will look at it and think, questions. When did this become so strong? You might not remember every brick you placed, but you will see the result of your faithfulness. Even in relationships, consistency creates trust. Questions. If someone is kind to you only once in a while, you appreciate it, but you don't rely on it. But if someone shows up for you again and again, listens to you, checks on you, and stands by you, questions, you start to feel safe. Their consistent presence becomes a source of strength. The same thing happens with your relationship with yourself. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, questions, you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Let's talk about talent for a moment. We often admire people and say, questions, they are so gifted. But what we don't see is the hours they put in when nobody was watching. The early mornings, the quiet evenings, the repeated practice of the same skill again and again. Questions. What looks like talent on the stage is often consistency behind the curtain. There will be days when you don't see results. You will feel like nothing is changing. Questions. You will feel like your efforts are invisible. But remember, seeds grow under the soil before they grow above it. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Questions. Consistency is an act of faith. It is believing that today's small effort will become tomorrow's big strength. So the next time you feel unmotivated, don't wait for a spark. Just take a step. Questions. Open the book. Put on the shoes. Write the first line. Make the call. Do the smallest version of the task. You don't need to win the day. You just need to show up for it. Questions. Because at the end of the year, you won't remember how motivated you felt on random mornings. But you will see the life you built with your daily choices. Questions. And you will realize that while motivation gave you a few exciting starts, it was consistency that gave you a powerful finish. In the quiet moments, in the ordinary days, in the simple routines. Questions. You are becoming someone stronger than you were yesterday. And that is not magic, that is the steady, faithful, and unstoppable power of showing up again and again, even when no one is clapping. Questions. Even when no one is watching, even when your heart is tired, because that is where real transformation lives. Questions. Let me start with something simple and very real. Think about how your morning begins. The moment your alarm rings, what is the first thing you reach for? For many of us, it's not a glass of water. Questions. Not a deep breath, not a moment of gratitude. It's the phone. We scroll through messages, social media, news, and other people's lives before we even step into our own. That one small action, questions, repeated every day, quietly shapes how we feel, how we think, and how we move through the world. We don't realize it, but our future is being written in these tiny, ordinary moments. Questions. Habits are like invisible architects. They design the structure of our life while we are busy living inside it. You don't suddenly wake up one day and become confident, healthy, successful, or calm. Questions. You arrive there slowly, through the things you do again and again when nobody is watching. Think about a path in a field. The first time you walk through the grass, you barely see a mark. Questions. The second time, the grass bends a little more. The third time, it becomes easier to walk there. After many days, a clear path appears. You didn't plan to create a road. Questions. But your repeated steps made one. That is exactly how habits work in your mind and in your life. What you repeat becomes your reality. Let's look at something as ordinary as eating. Questions. One meal doesn't make you healthy or unhealthy. One chocolate doesn't change your body. One salad doesn't transform your life. But what you choose most of the time does. Questions. If most days you choose care, your body learns to feel energetic. If most days you choose comfort, your body learns to feel heavy. The future version of you is not built by one big decision. Questions. It is built by hundreds of small, quiet choices. Now think about how you talk to yourself. This is a habit too. When you make a mistake, do you say, "I am so stupid"? Or do you say, questions, "I am learning"? The words you repeat in your own mind become the voice you believe. Over time, that voice becomes your confidence or your doubt. Questions. A person who constantly tells themselves they can't do something slowly becomes someone who doesn't even try. Questions. And a person who gently reminds themselves that they are growing becomes someone who keeps moving forward, even when it's hard. Let me share a simple daily life example. Questions. Imagine two people who both want to learn a new skill, like speaking in public. The first person waits for a perfect moment. They say, "One day when I am fully confident, questions, I will speak." The second person decides to practice a little every day. They speak in front of a mirror. They share an idea in a small group. They ask a question in a meeting. Questions. It feels uncomfortable, even embarrassing sometimes. After a year, the first person is still waiting for confidence. The second person has become confident. Not because they were fearless, questions, but because they built a habit of showing up. Even the way you spend 5 minutes can change your future. 5 minutes of complaining every day can slowly turn into a negative mindset. Questions. 5 minutes of reading every day can slowly turn into wisdom. 5 minutes of planning every day can slowly turn into clarity. These small pockets of time may seem too small to matter. Questions. But they are like drops of water carving a stone. You don't see the change in a day, but over time, the shape becomes different. Let's talk about money for a moment. Questions. People often dream of sudden wealth, but most financial stability is not created by one big win. It is created by habits. The habit of saving before spending. The habit of tracking expenses. Questions. The habit of thinking before buying. These are not exciting habits. They don't make good stories, but they create peaceful lives. And peace in the long run is more valuable than excitement. Questions. Your friendships, your work, your health, your dreams, all of them sit on the foundation of your habits. If you have a habit of listening, people feel heard around you. Questions. If you have a habit of showing up on time, people trust you. If you have a habit of giving up when things get difficult, life starts to feel heavy. If you have a habit of trying one more time, questions, life starts to open new doors. One of the most powerful things about habits is that they don't need willpower every day. Once a habit is formed, it carries you forward even on tired days. Questions. It's like setting a direction for a boat. You don't have to keep pushing the boat with all your strength. The current starts to move it for you. But you choose the current by choosing your habits. Questions. Sometimes we look at people and say, they are lucky. They always seem to be in the right place at the right time. What we don't see are the habits that placed them there. The habit of learning questions, which gave them skills. The habit of networking, which gave them connections. The habit of courage, which gave them opportunities. Luck often follows those who are prepared by their daily routines. Questions. Let me say this gently. Your future self is watching you right now. Every small habit you build today is either making your future easier or harder. Drinking water today is a gift to your future body. Questions. Reading today is a gift to your future mind. Being kind today is a gift to your future relationships. Resting today is a gift to your future energy. So tonight before you sleep, questions. Don't think about changing your whole life. Think about changing one small habit. Just one. Maybe it's sleeping 10 minutes earlier. Maybe it's writing one sentence in a notebook. Questions. Maybe it's taking one deep breath when you feel angry. These small actions might not feel powerful, but they are powerful because they repeat. One day, months or years from now, questions. You will look at your life and wonder how you became this person. You might think it was one big moment, one big decision, one big opportunity. But if you look closely, questions, you will find a trail of tiny habits behind you, quietly leading you here. Because the truth is simple and beautiful. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your habits. Questions. And when your habits are built with care, patience, and intention, your future becomes a place you are proud to walk into. Questions. Let me start with something we all know too well. Think about the last time you tried to start something new. Maybe it was going to the gym, learning a new skill, starting a business idea, questions, or even trying to eat healthier. In your mind, you probably imagined a perfect version of yourself. You saw yourself waking up early every day, never missing a workout, never making a mistake, questions, always being disciplined, always being confident. And then reality happened. You woke up late one day, you skipped a session, you ate something unhealthy, you made a mistake, and suddenly, questions, that voice inside said, see, you can't do this, you've already failed. So you stopped. This is how perfection quietly steals our progress. Perfection tells us, questions, if you can't do it perfectly, don't do it at all. But progress gently whispers, just do a little today. Let me give you a daily life example. Imagine you are learning to cook. Questions. The first time you enter the kitchen, you might burn the food, add too much salt, or forget an ingredient. The meal doesn't look like the picture in the recipe book. Now you have two choices. Questions. You can say, I am terrible at this, I will never be a good cook, and stop trying. Or you can say, today I learned something. Tomorrow, questions, I will do it a little better. After many imperfect meals, one day, someone will taste your food and say, this is really good. They won't see the burned dishes, the wasted ingredients, questions, or the frustration you went through. They will only see the result of your progress. Think about a child learning to write. The first letters are shaky, uneven, and sometimes unreadable. Questions. The lines go up and down, and the words don't look perfect. But we don't take the paper away and say, comb back when you can write perfectly. We smile. We encourage questions. We put the paper on the fridge like it's a masterpiece. And slowly, day by day, those shaky letters turn into clear words. That child didn't become better by aiming for perfection. Questions. They became better by practicing through imperfection. Now think about how we treat ourselves. We make one mistake at work, and we think, I am not good enough. We miss one day of our routine. Questions. And we think, I've ruined everything. But life is not a straight line. It's more like a winding road. There are turns, bumps, and sometimes even wrong directions. Questions. But as long as you keep moving, you are still on the journey. Let me tell you something gentle and powerful. You don't need to be perfect to be proud of yourself. Questions. You just need to be honest about trying. Look at how a plant grows. It doesn't grow in a straight, perfect line. Sometimes it bends toward the light. Sometimes it grows a little slower. Questions. Sometimes a leaf falls off, but it keeps growing, and one day it becomes something beautiful. Nature doesn't rush. Nature doesn't demand perfection. Nature believes in progress. Questions. In our daily life, we often wait for the perfect time, the perfect mood, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions. But the perfect time rarely comes. Life is messy. There will always be noise. Questions. Problems, responsibilities, and distractions. If you wait for everything to be perfect before you start, you might never start at all. Imagine you want to clean your house. You look around and think, questions. This is too much. I need a whole free day to do this perfectly. And because you don't have that free day, you don't do anything. Now imagine you just pick up one corner. You clean one table. Questions. You organize one shelf. The house is not perfect, but it is better than it was yesterday. And tomorrow you can do a little more. That is progress. The same applies to your dreams. Questions. You don't need a perfect plan to take the first step. You just need a direction, a small move, a simple action. You can adjust along the way. Questions. One of the biggest reasons people give up is because they compare their beginning to someone else's middle. They look at someone who has been working for years and say, questions. I will never be like them. But they forget that even that person once stood at the same starting line, feeling unsure, awkward, and imperfect. Let me say this clearly. Questions. Everyone you admire today wants a beginner who made mistakes. Progress means allowing yourself to be a learner. It means giving yourself permission to grow slowly. It means celebrating small wins. Questions. Waking up 10 minutes earlier than yesterday is progress. Drinking one more glass of water is progress. Speaking up once in a meeting is progress. Questions. Saying no when you usually say yes is progress. These moments may seem small, but they are signs that you are moving. And here's something beautiful about progress. It builds confidence. Questions. Not the loud, showy kind of confidence, but the quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing, I am better than I was yesterday. That kind of confidence doesn't need approval. Questions. It comes from within. Perfection is heavy. It puts pressure on you. It makes every mistake feel like a disaster. Progress is light. It allows you to breathe. It allows you to learn. Questions. It allows you to enjoy the journey instead of only staring at the destination. So the next time you feel like giving up because things are not going perfectly, pause. Look back at where you started. Questions. Look at how far you've come. Even if it's just a small distance, it is still a distance. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be faithful to the process. Show up. Try again. Questions. Take another step and another. Because one day when you look at your life, you won't see a perfect story. You will see a real one. A story of effort, mistakes, courage, and growth. Questions. And that story will be far more inspiring than any picture of perfection could ever be. Progress is not loud. It is quiet. It is patient. It is kind. And if you keep choosing it day after day. Questions. It will lead you to a version of yourself that you will be truly proud to meet. Questions. Let me start with something very simple. Think about a parent and a child. When a child wants to eat only sweets all day, the loving parent doesn't say yes. When the child wants to stay up all night, questions. The loving parent doesn't agree. The parent says no, not because they want to be strict, but because they care about the child's future. Questions. They know what the child wants now is not always what the child needs for later. In many ways, discipline is doing the same thing for yourself. It is becoming your own loving parent. Some of us think self-love means comfort. It means relaxing, treating ourselves, avoiding anything difficult. And yes, comfort has its place, but real self-love is not always soft. Sometimes questions. Real self-love is firm. Sometimes it says, I know you are tired, but get up. Sometimes it says, I know you want to quit, but take one more step. It is not about being harsh with yourself. Questions. It is about being honest with yourself. Let me give you a daily life example. Imagine you have an important exam, presentation, or meeting coming up. You sit down to prepare. Questions, and your phone lights up with notifications, a message, a video, a funny post. Your mind says, just 5 minutes. For 5 minutes turn into 30. 30 turns into an hour. At that moment, questions. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about gently putting the phone aside and saying, my future matters more than this moment. That simple act is self-love in its purest form. Questions. Think about health. When you choose to drink water instead of another sugary drink, when you go for a walk instead of staying on the couch, when you sleep on time instead of watching one more episode. Questions. It might not feel exciting, but your future body feels that love. Your future energy feels that care. You may not see the reward tomorrow, but one day when you feel stronger, lighter, and healthier. Questions. You will thank the version of yourself who chose discipline. We often misunderstand discipline as something heavy, something forced. But discipline is not about controlling yourself. Questions. It is about caring for yourself. It is about aligning your actions with your values. If you say you value your dreams, discipline is how you prove it. If you say you value your family, questions. Discipline is how you show up for them. If you say you value your peace, discipline is how you protect your time and energy. Let's talk about money for a moment. Imagine you receive some extra cash. Questions. The easy choice is to spend it on something that gives you instant happiness. New clothes, a nice meal, something shiny and new. The disciplined choice might be to save it, invest it, questions, or use it to pay off something important. In that moment, it may feel like you are denying yourself. But in reality, you are gifting yourself peace, security, and freedom in the future. Questions. That is self-love that thinks long-term. Even in relationships, discipline plays a role. It is easy to speak in anger. It is easy to react when emotions are high. But choosing to pause, to breathe, questions, to respond with kindness instead of hurt takes discipline. And that discipline protects your connection. It protects trust. It protects love. Let me tell you something powerful. Questions. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build a relationship with yourself. And just like any relationship, that bond grows stronger with trust. When you say, questions, I will wake up early, and you actually do, you tell yourself, I can rely on me. When you say, I will try again tomorrow, and you show up, questions, you prove to yourself that your word has value. That kind of self-trust is a quiet confidence that no one can take away. Think about a gardener. The gardener doesn't shout at the plant to grow, questions. The gardener waters it regularly, removes the weeds, and makes sure it gets sunlight. Some days the gardener is tired. Some days the weather is bad. But the gardener still shows up. Questions. That consistent care is what makes the garden beautiful. You are the gardener of your own life. Discipline is how you water your dreams. Questions. There will be days when you don't feel like doing what you know is good for you. That is normal. Nobody feels strong every day. But discipline doesn't wait for strength. Questions. Discipline creates strength. Every small act of showing up, even when it's uncomfortable, makes you a little more resilient, a little more confident, a little more proud of yourself. Questions. Let's be honest, it is easy to love yourself when things are going well. It is easy to feel good when you succeed. But the real test of self-love is what you do when things are hard. Questions. Do you give up on yourself or do you stand by yourself? Discipline is choosing to stand by yourself. Imagine your future self meeting you today. What would they say? Would they say, questions, thank you for not giving up on me? Would they say, thank you for choosing what was right instead of what was easy? Questions. Every disciplined choice you make today is a gift you send forward in time. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you never rest or never enjoy life. Questions. It simply means you don't abandon your values for temporary comfort. It means you balance kindness with commitment. Questions. So the next time you face a choice between what feels good now and what will be good later, pause for a moment. Put your hand on your heart and ask questions. What would someone who truly loves me choose? Then try to choose that. Because discipline is not about being strict. It is about being sincere. It is about honoring the life you have been given. Questions. It is about treating your dreams like something precious, not something optional. And one day when you look back at your journey, you won't just be proud of what you achieved. Questions. You will be proud of the person you became along the way. A person who learned to care for themselves, to respect themselves, and to love themselves not just in words, but in actions.